This OBAMAGATE scandal is the biggest one of our lifetimes, and it's not getting any play because the media are corrupt and in bed with the officials involved, and because it's a little bit complicated. So I'm going to try to simplify it in just like 1 or 2 minutes. More than a dozen Obama administration officials, high-ranking Obama administration officials, signed off on the unmasking of Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn was the incoming national security advisor for Trump. This happened during the presidential transition period. So after Trump had won the election, before he's inaugurated. One of the officials who signed off on the unmasking of Michael Flynn was Joe Biden, the current Democratic frontrunner. I guess. I don't know where he is. I'm not convinced he is still with us. But he is theoretically going to be the Democratic nominee in November. Other senior Obama officials include UN Ambassador Samantha Power, CIA Director John Brennan, and the White House Chief of Staff Dennis McDonough. What is unmasking? We know what masking is. We do a lot of that these days. What is unmasking? Unmasking refers to the ability of the government to spy on foreigners in certain cases, particularly if the foreigners, foreign governments, foreign people have some relationship to terrorism. That's in particular. Sometimes when you're spying on these foreigners, you pick up conversations with American citizens. Those conversations are then masked because the government doesn't have this carte blanche right to just spy on American citizens and then make that available to other people in the government. So you'll see who the foreign official is, but they will mask who the American official is. Sometimes intelligence officials can request that the NSA, no such agency, National Security Agency, unmask those American citizens for security purposes. So reveal who the American citizens are who are talking to the foreign officials. That does not appear to be what happened here. It wasn't some intel officials for a legitimate investigation who were doing this unmasking. Actually, what happened here is that politicians, very prominent politicians, requested this. This is very strange. It's very odd for requests for unmasking to come from politicians, particularly politicians this high up. Very strange, very rare for requests like this to come in a period of presidential transition, meaning from the outgoing administration into the incoming administration. Frankly, seems unprecedented. Think of the effect that this decision had, that Joe Biden signed off on to unmask Mike Flynn, had the effect of allowing the previous administration to nullify the incoming national security director. Just took him out, or national security advisor rather. Forced the incoming attorney general to recuse himself. So Trump didn't get an NSA right away. He didn't get an attorney general for much of his administration, or his first term. First term, please. Hostile bureaucrats were then allowed to undermine the administration from within during the Trump administration, completely kneecapped the administration in the first 3 years, and covered up the truth. Covered up the truth. For, what are we at now, 3.5 years? It's just beginning to come out. Almost a full presidential term. What the Obama people were hoping would be the full Trump presidential term. This all goes back to a January 5th meeting where, and we know about this meeting because former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice wrote an unusual email to herself to take notes about this meeting that she attended with Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, FBI Director Jim Comey, and VP Joe Biden. She sent this email to herself. Why? Maybe to have some notes. Why? Maybe to exonerate herself if this ever came out. The note said, President Obama said he wants to be sure that as we engage with the incoming team, we're mindful to ascertain if there is any reason that we cannot share information fully as it relates to Russia. See the implication here. You need, what it would seem that that meeting is suggesting is that the outgoing administration needs to be able to frame the incoming administration in such a way that they can keep power for themselves, hold over power for themselves, keep it away from the Trump administration. Why did this happen? Why did this happen? If I were a gambling man, here's my theory. I think a pretty straightforward theory. The Obama administration spied on the Trump campaign. We know that. They spied on the Trump campaign using BS intel cooked up by Democrats, ironically colluding with the Russians through the Steele dossier. We know that for a fact. When Trump unexpectedly won, he wasn't supposed to win. Remember, 99% chance Hillary wins. The Obama administration knew that they had to cover their tracks because what they did was so egregious. So they had to keep the bogus Russia investigations going, which they did by entrapping and sidelining Flynn and forcing Sessions to recuse himself. That bought them almost an entire presidential administration of the Russia hoax investigations and distractions. And they almost got away with it. They got so close, but they didn't. They didn't get away with it. We now see it coming out. There is a criminal investigation being conducted by John Durham. We'll see what happens next. I have two big takeaways. This is the biggest political scandal of our lifetimes by far. This is much, much worse than Watergate. You always hear political pundits and analysts and commentators. They say, this is worse than Watergate about whatever scandal it is. In the Obama administration, you could talk about the IRS targeting scandal. You could talk about Fast and Furious. You could talk about any number of things. In the Trump administration, I don't know, you could talk about how he sent some mean tweet sometime. You say it's worse than Watergate. I don't use that phrase. I don't think I've ever used that phrase to refer to a political scandal yet. I am using it to refer to this one. This is truly worse than Watergate, goes up much higher, very likely touches the president himself. We need to know what Barack Obama knew and when he knew it. We need to subpoena these people, find out what the logic was for unmasking Michael Flynn, find out why the vice president of the United States signed off on this, why it went so high, got so political 8 days before he left office. Got to find out what that January 5th meeting was all about, that Susan Rice sent that email to herself about. Got to find out a whole lot of stuff because it stinks to high heaven. And I can't imagine any evidence that would exculpate these guys. That's the one takeaway. The other takeaway is they're probably going to get away with it. They're probably going to get away with it. That's just a political reality. Why wouldn't they? It's Obama's old news. He did get away with it, right? He finished his administration. Joe Biden is the Democratic nominee right now, so the trial of these people is going to be held in the court of public opinion at the ballot box, perhaps as it should be. If you enjoyed that break from the disinformation, the historical revision, and the screaming about the end of the world, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you never miss another video.